Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Takedown, a Splitting Hairs podcast brought to you by Jackrabbit Illustrated. And on this podcast, we focus on South Dakota State wrestling. Once again, I'm joined by my co-host, Jordon Schoenrock, and our special guest, Coach Damion Hahn. Today, we're going to recap the offseason, talk about the upcoming NCAA season. Jordon, Coach Hahn, how you guys doing? Welcome back.
Doing good, man.
Doing
good.
Awesome.
All right. Jordan, how was your off season?
It was busy, a little different. Once I graduated college, I took off racing, and I've spent the summer racing and doing all that fun stuff, working on race cars and traveling.
Nice.
How was yours?
Coach, we've had a pretty big. Mine was good. Yeah, I can't complain. I'm just busy working. I'm the workaday world fool. Trying to build myself a pole shed, and that's been a whole rigmarole. But Coach, you guys have had a really interesting and active off season. Why don't you talk about that a little bit? We had Sloan and Berge, getting silver in the World Finals, repping Team USA. Expand on that for us a little bit, if you would. Talk about what happened there. And
experiences. Most people involved in college athletics and your traditional sports, they have a season, and then hey, we got to wait till next season to really see these guys compete again. And so for wrestling, it's a little bit different. Once the collegiate season ends, we jump right into the international styles. What you see in the Olympics and the World Championships, and so we had a busy spring. We took a handful of guys with our Jackrabbit Wrestling Club out to the U.S. Open, the U20 Nationals, the World Team Trials, the U23 Nationals and World Team Trials. And we were fortunate enough to put a couple Jackrabbits on some world teams. So at the U20 division, Bennett Berge, who he'll be a redshirt freshman this year. He graduated early, and he moved out to Brookings. I believe it was like the end of March, beginning of April, and so he was training with us all spring. And he made it to the World Team Trials and out in Ohio, and he ended up winning the World Team Trials, which gave him a berth on the U.S. team for the U23 or U20 age group. And so that was in August. We went over to Sofia, Bulgaria, and I was really happy and excited about his performance. Obviously, you bring home a medal. I mean, that's great, but it was his first international competition. His training went well, and he prepared. And so his brother Brady was his coach. In the corner, I went over as kind of a support staff and kind of protect him a little bit, because you got other college coaches out there, and with the rules these days, heck, they're trying to snag people left and right. So I went out there and kind of helped with some of the travel and the training and all that, and really it was a chance to just sit back and be an encourager, a fan, which was fun. And so he had a great tournament, wrestled some hard competition, and made it to the finals, and ultimately fell to a guy from France who was a Russian transplant. And it was a good match. He was in it, and ended up taking second, and super proud of him. And obviously him, his family, Jackrabbit Wrestling Club, SDSU, and what the future looks like, to be honest. You got a world silver medalist, in your room and scrapping every day. So that was awesome. Then when we get back, we're still in that training mode. Because Tanner Sloan, won the World Team Trials at the U23 division, and that was his second time making a world team. He did it when he was a freshman and wrestled over in Estonia, and didn't have the tournament he wanted. He didn't place. He lost to the guy who ended up taking third. And how international styles work, it's kind of like the follow the leader kind of situation. So if you lose in the early rounds, if your guy does not make the finals, you're done. So you lose, and then you sit there. You sit there and wait and see how that guy does, hoping that he makes the finals. Well, he didn't. He ended up taking third, lost to the champ, and so Tanner was done. And so we got back and got back to training and getting Tanner ready and not only getting Tanner ready, but we were in our preseason, right? The collegiate year. So it was a combination of some things, guys kind of doing their preseason, Tanner continuing to train for the world championships. And he had a great block, a great training phase. He was dialed in, ready to go. Probably the best I've seen Tanner wrestle in our time with him, to be honest with you. So he heads over to Spain. Cody Caldwell, our other assistant coach, he was his primary coach. And I went kind of, as the same kind of deal, to kind of help manage some things and help with training and all that. But it was funny because we're sitting there the night before, getting the draws, because at those age groups, when you get to the senior level, there's a ranking system, because that's all these guys do. They wrestle around the world. So you go to these different tournaments and you get points. And then when you go to the brackets on the senior level, they do a separation criteria, depending on the points that you have. Well, at the U20 and U23 level, there is none of that. So it's random. They get pulled out of a hat, thrown up on a bracket. So out of the whole U.S. team, he was the first day, his draws come out, and we're just looking at it. We're like, are you flipping kidding me? Like, would he have not got a worse draw? And out of all the Americans, it was the worst, the first day and the second day. I mean, I nothing against some of the other countries, but man, throw us a guy from like Guatemala or something like that, or from El Salvador. I mean, come on, heck no. He had to go right out, and he wrestles the Turk. First match, and the Turk that he wrestled was the senior level rep. So he's the best guy they got, and so he wrestled in the senior world championships, a month earlier. So Tanner wrestles him and dominates him. I mean, like, literally controlled every position, wrestled smart, and came away with a decisive win. I don't know, maybe 2 points from a major, or from a technical fall. Well, then his next match was, or I'm sorry, I think the first match was Hungary. No. First match was Turkey. The next match was Georgia. Now, Georgia, that guy was an age level world medalist. He took second in the Europeans. I mean, another absolute stud. And he goes out there, and it was a closer match, but he controlled it. He dominated again. He wrestled within himself in his best positions and won. Then he makes it to the semifinals, and he's got Azerbaijan. Now, if anybody knows wrestling, the powers of the world in wrestling, I mean,
are right there.
Yeah, I mean, you got USA,
Iran.
You got Russia, Iran, Azerbaijan, Turkey, and Georgia. I mean, like, those are your powers. And the only one that he didn't wrestle was Russia, because they're banned and they can't wrestle yet, because of I don't even know what it is.
Some stuff.
Yeah, I believe. So he wrestles the Azerbaijani, and that Azerbaijani won the Europeans and beat the Georgian that Tanner had a good match with. So we're like, here we go again, and goes out there, and I can't say it enough how well he wrestled and controlled. His I don't know if you want to call it poise. He didn't get flustered. I mean, he literally frustrated everyone that he wrestled, and so he ends up dominating that match. I don't know. I mean, maybe a couple points shy of a tech again. So now he makes it to the world finals, and you have to, you're done for that day. You come back, you wrestle the next night, and the guy he wrestled in the finals from Iran won the U23 last year, so he was a world champ. And so we knew it was going to be a tough bout. I mean, you're in the world championships, every guy you wrestle is tough, and he did well. He did well that first 3 minutes, it's a 3-minute, 30-second break, 3 minutes. And the first 3 minutes, I think he was winning 2-0. And the Iranians are the absolute best in the world at wrestling from underhooks. And they have trained, like they do it like nobody else. Like Americans, they get into that position and we kind of use it a little bit differently, where the Iranians, they get in, they get down and they start pushing and driving. And in international freestyle and Greco, if you push a guy out of bounds, you get a point. Yep. So the first 3 minutes, Tanner did great defending that underhook and staying out of it and really kind of being elusive. But you can kind of see a little bit, the Iranian was kind of gaining a little bit, on him over the course of that 3 minutes, but we were still fine. Goes into the break winning, and we come back in the second period, and he starts getting pushed out because, he was relentless with the underhook, and Tanner couldn't get to his offense. So, when I think he was down by 2 or something like that, or down by 3 or something, whatever it was. But Tanner ends up, kind of getting a push out of his own, brings the match back within, a takedown. And in freestyle and Greco, the last person who scores, and then they see, the accumulation of points, who has the higher scoring points, that wins the match. So Tanner finally sees an opening for his offense and gets to his elbow pass and gets to, a single leg. And sure enough, damn, man, I thought he had the takedown. I mean, it was so freaking close, and time runs out, and we challenged, and ultimately they said, you didn't have control. But here's the thing, like in freestyle, you don't need to have control, right? To score points. There are positions, right? And the position is, 3 points of contact. If there's 3 points of contact on the mat, that is a takedown. So it doesn't really have to be control per se. Like in folk style or collegiate, if we're wrestling and I throw you and you roll across your back and get up to your feet, there's no points. In freestyle, boom, you're throwing up 4 points. There was no control. So we argued it, and our head of USA Wrestling, Rich Bender, hats off to him. He went down and got on some people, and that's the decision they came back with, and a heartbreaker of a loss. But I can't say enough about how he wrestled and the control and literally in all the positions that he is good at. He's got things that other people just don't have. And when he uses his ability, there's nothing that he can't do. And I've been saying this for years now. And if he competes the way he did, at the World Championships, he's going to accomplish his goals. There's no doubt about it. So, so it was a a busy off season, or a busy summer, because there is no off season, right?
Right. Yeah.
But it was
That's
good. It was
off
really,
season. In quotes, always. Yeah.
For sure. But it was good. It really was. And I think on top of, just the competing at different levels and different stages, throughout their time, I think it's kind of eye-opening for a lot of these kids. Tanner Sloan's from Alburnett, Iowa, man, right? And he's got to travel the world. He's been to Estonia. He's been to Spain. How cool is that for, at one point, 18, 19-year-old. Now he's 22 years old. And you got, Bennett Berge wrestling over in Bulgaria. And that's awesome, man. These kids are fortunate and blessed to be able to do those things, because there's a lot of people out there that will never have that opportunity. So they will forever remember it. And it's great.
And that kind of stuff is really what the Jackrabbit Wrestling Club helps sponsor and put together and cover the cost for, right? That's why those donations matter so much.
100%. You have, you talk about, the fundraising and the different pots that things kind of go into and what they're used for. The JWC, or Jackrabbit Wrestling Club, that's what it's all for. It's to fund the Olympic dream for these kids. There is no professional, wrestling, like there is at the NFL, NBA, NHL, and all that kind of stuff. So this is their opportunity, and to be able to support them in their endeavors through the Jackrabbit Wrestling Club and all the donors and the friends of the program. I mean, it's monumental. It truly is, and we wouldn't be able to do the things that we're doing without their support. And so it's huge. It really is, and it does not go unnoticed. What we're doing as far as the JWC and the freestyle and Greco and stuff like that. I mean, right now we got 3 world medalists in our room that are still in college. One of them was a transferring Gabe Tag, who won a bronze medal when Sloan didn't place out in Estonia. So I mean, you got three world medalists in your college room that are still in college. I mean, that kind of says something. Look to the future, because there's a lot of good things going on, and they're in a good environment to be able to compete at a high level and accomplish some of the goals that they have set forth for themselves.
And not only do we have 3 world medalists wrestling in the room, they're wrestling in a closet. So that's also an attest to you, Damion, and how good of a coach you have been as we're waiting for that new facility to get built.
Well put.
Yeah, well,
it's more of a dungeon,
right? Yeah, right. It's the dungeon. I can't take all the credit, even though that everybody likes to put it on me. I truly believe, man, I got the best staff in the country. I do, and it's because of their relentless what they exhibit to these kids, right? It's unwavering. And hey, not everything is perfect, right? The world is not perfect, and things do happen, and you have setbacks, you have progressions, and I can tell you this: when it comes to Cam, Cody, and Brady, the 4 coaches, then we got like Zilverberg and some of the other guys that Zach Carlson that come in and do all these things. They're all here for the same common goal, and that's to help these kids. And I've said it before, I sound like a broken darn record, but I mean, we live a life of service for these guys, and our joy is their joy, and we want to see them accomplish their goals. And doing it in the environment that we are currently doing it in is not ideal. I literally wake up every day, and I go over and take the little walk across the street to the new wrestling facility. And let me tell you, man, it is crazy to think we are almost at the finish line, right? Almost at the finish line to be walking into a monument of a building, in my mind, because it's going to be, a top facility in the entire country. And for South Dakota State to lay claim to that, I mean, it's absolutely amazing, because we're competing up against the Ohio State and the Oklahomas and Iowa and Minnesota, and I mean, that's who we compete against on a day-to-day basis. So what if we wrestle some of the other mid-majors? I mean, that's not our goal. We don't want to be the best mid-major. I mean, we want to be the best program in the country, and to be able to do that, you got to have facilities to help you get there, right? And this is well on its way. And again, every day, man, you see it coming together. You see the hard work of so many people, and I couldn't be more excited. And honestly, I'll be happy when it's done, so I can kind of get back to doing what they hired me for, and that's actually coaching, instead of doing some of the other things. But yeah, it's all good, man. It's good, and it's coming together.
I got to think that, looking at the building when I go over Saturdays and game day and walk between the backyard and the library where we tailgate, with a facility such as this, I mean, they got the plumbing out of the way. It's basically a large enclosure. I saw you guys loading the mats in. That's got to be an exciting moment. They're big. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So a lot less tape in there. It's got to go up pretty quick and be finished off pretty quick once they get it enclosed. Yeah. I mean, what's the move-in day? Talk about that, if you would.
So the first date of occupancy is December 15th. Now, we won't move in there then, because we wrestle Nebraska on the 18th. So we will stick with our training. We won't change anything. We'll wrestle, we'll train all the way through Nebraska. And then after Nebraska, we're going to cut the guys loose. The local ones will go home on the 18th, the night of the 18th. The other guys will probably leave on the 19th. We'll have a couple guys that, will still be around, sticking around. But we cut them loose for Christmas break. And then when we bring them back after Christmas break, they will come back on the 27th. And the goal is they don't even go to Frost. They're going to come right from home, moving right into their new home on that screen. So that's the goal. So I would say by the 27th, the majority of our kids and everything will be back, and they'll be in their new home. Like I said, I go over every day, and I think they're going to be more excited when the building is done, not because of the building, so they don't have to see me anymore, because I go over there and I kind of push and prod and ask questions, and I think a lot of people will be happy when I know my wife will be happy when this thing's finished, because I come home and there are days where it's just like, it's not going right, and so I think a lot of people will be happy, and we'll be in there, the end of December, and we'll be using it and ready to go. So, and every day new things are coming in, right? So you're getting cabinets, and you're getting mats, and in the first part of December, all the cardio and strength and conditioning stuff are coming in, and the lounge furniture, and so like things are all coming together. And it's moving, man. It's definitely something special to see and be a part of. You're muted, man. You're muted.
Yeah, sorry. I'm glad I was muted because my phone was going off anyway. But I thought I had turned it down. I was just saying, it's always fun to have new stuff. Every new item's just, it's a new thing. Like it's amazing. Going back just a touch back, talking about the off season. How do you think that it translates into the upcoming season? I know in a sense, wrestling's wrestling, all of the different styles are different, but I think you can still have some major takeaways in wrestling those other styles. And what do you think from a wrestling standpoint, our guys gain doing this different type of wrestling, I guess,
So you hit the nail on the head, and, wrestling is wrestling, right? But there is a different, what do you want to call it? A different atmosphere or a different feeling. And so I'll break it down like this. So I really do feel like the collegiate season is a grind. It's a grind, and you want to talk about the stress that these kids kind of put on themselves, because you got your academics, you got your athletics, and you got your social things going on. So there's a lot of weight on their shoulders in some regard. But when the collegiate season ends and they get into the freestyle season, it's like free, right? You just go, and I think it's more enjoyable because I don't want to say less expectation, but the style is different. The point scoring is different. And you can just do some things differently. And so it's almost like you get to, and I'm using the same word as the style, freestyle, but in my mind, it's probably like, every time a batter gets up to the plate and they want to hit a home run now, but when they're in the home run derby, it's kind of fun, right? And they're just swinging for the fences every time. Like, but when they're up on the plate in a game, they're trying to get on base, and I'm telling you want to talk about the stress level there. It's probably out of control. So it's just a different kind of feel and atmosphere. So, but what I do think it does translate over, because now you have these short little goals throughout the summer. It's not like college where they wrestle every single weekend. So you're training for, the U.S. Nationals, and then you train another block for the World Team Trials, and then you train another block for the World Championship. So it gives you a little bit of time to rest and recover, I guess, a little bit more than a collegiate season. And I think the freestyle and Greco, what it does is, because we talked about control and not control, it makes you more aware of where you are on that mat. Because in freestyle and Greco, literally, if you expose past 90 degrees, that's 2 points.
Yep.
So, I mean, in college, you see guys rolling around and scrambling and coming out the back door and and doing all these, these rolls. Where you do that in freestyle, you're giving up points. So it makes you a little bit more mat awareness. It gives you that. And, with college, you can still wrestle on the out of bounds and go out of bounds. You might get hit for stalling, but sometimes, it's an action call and they don't say anything. You step out of bounds in freestyle, or Greco, you're giving up a point. So it really makes you be in tune with where you are on that mat and some of the body control that you need to have, that maybe in folk style you don't. You can kind of roll around a little bit more. I definitely feel like the collegiate season or a collegiate match is more of a grind because you're wrestling in all positions, not like, freestyle or Greco. I mean, if you're down for so long, they blow the whistle and bring you back up to your feet. So it is good. It is. It's a nice transition. It's a nice break for our guys. You're able to get some good training blocks in, and it's keeping them active, throughout the summer. I mean, I don't. Again, you guys heard me. I'm not a sports guy. I watch wrestling, and that's about it. So I don't know what football players do, in the off season. I don't know what basketball players do or baseball players do. I mean, I have no flipping idea. I mean, I know what we do, and we just go. It just keeps going, and
hence the no off season.
Yeah, and so it keeps guys active. It keeps guys focused on a task that they want to or a goal that they want to obtain, and it's good. It really is, and some people could sit here and there's positives and negatives, and some people could sit here and say, well, kids need a break. Kids need a break, and it's not that we're not giving them a break. I mean, we are, but these are in my mind, because we don't have a professional league, right? So in my mind, these guys are professional athletes. And professional athletes, I mean, you look at the best athletes in the world. I mean, they don't go weeks upon end sitting on their butt eating bonbons and watching TV. I mean, no, they're working. And that's what these guys do. They work. And I think it's important to keep them motivated.
So you're saying in a lot of ways it helps keep them in the wrestling mindset too, though, right?
Oh,
I
heck
mean,
yeah.
that's what I'm hearing in
Yeah.
the background of what you're saying.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and you talk about the wrestling mindset of it, and yeah, the training part of it goes into it. But even we have a couple guys right now that are a little banged up, that from injury and stuff, and like that won't be competing in this weekend or however long. And you got to keep them. You talk about the mindset. You got to keep them in the right frame of mind. And it's like, listen, even though take one of our Graf, our 25, one of our 25 pounders from Rapid City. He had shoulder surgery and he won't be ready to compete probably until second semester. And but it's like telling him, Logan, listen, I know you're injured, but this is not a break. You need to keep your mind in the right place. Like, hey, listen, I'm going to do what I'm allowed to do as far as rehab and training, but I need to be ready to go. Like, you need to have your mind prepared for battle, because when the opportunity presents itself, or when he's able to, if you're not in the right frame of mind, man, I don't really care what you've done. I mean, you need to be mentally prepared. And so, you talk about that mindset and keeping those guys, ready for battle. Yeah, that's a hard thing to shut off and a hard thing to keep going, right? There's a happy medium there. You got to be able to have the right people, the right things, around to be able to keep you on track. I mean, we're dealing with kids, and I think it happens with everybody. I mean, human beings are, we always, for the most part, take the path of least resistance. And if it's, we love taking breaks, you know what I mean? But sometimes you need somebody to kick you in the butt, keep you on track to accomplish your goals. So yeah, never a downtime, man.
So, in my eyes, I always say that the season officially started yesterday with the signing day, and
Yep.
we signed 5 kids to be freshmen this coming
Yep.
a year from now or whatever. And something cool that I seen was they're all 2-time state champions already. Every
Mhm.
one of them's got a chance at being a 3-time. Like the recruiting classes that we're bringing in right now just seem to be stellar compared to what SDSU and South Dakota wrestling used to get for
Yeah,
transfers and it or the season or
yeah,
for recruits. And it seems like that really rolled into this year with our preseason rankings out.
yep,
We have 8 preseason ranks. Just kind of talk about what the lineup's going to look like this year a
yeah.
little bit and how everything's going to go.
Yeah, I think as far as recruiting, um, you know, again, there is no off season. I wish, I'll be honest with you, this is the one thing I do wish we had a recruiting calendar, more so like a football or maybe basketball. I'm not really sure how they operate, but I know football has like these dead periods and
Yep.
they're long.
Yeah.
Well, we have 2 dead periods in the sport of wrestling. The one dead period is the NCAA tournament.
It's like the
Well,
drum,
great,
right? Yeah.
thanks. You know what I mean? I'm at the damn tournament, and if you're not at the tournament and you're trying to recruit the top kids, you're probably not going to get them because you're not at the NCAA tournament. And then the other one is our wrestling convention that they want us to be at. So awesome. So the 2 times, like I'm actually working. I mean, I can be at a recruit's house. He can wake up on Christmas morning. I can be wrapped in a present underneath his damn tree. I mean, like seriously. I mean, like
How's that worked out for you?
I haven't done it yet, but I've been thinking about it lately.
Have you done that at home?
Yeah, right. uh, so, so as far as the recruiting, so I mean, again, it never stops. So I mean, between my staff and everybody, I mean, just constantly bringing kids to campus and on the phones and going to see kids. In today's world in NCAA sports, let's just call it as it is, man. It's the wild, wild west. I mean, truly, truly is. And there are things that we are trying to put into place to be able to do the things we want to do, and the recruiting part of it is key number one. And so when we are expanding, I guess you could say, expanding our radius. We got a couple kids out of Utah. I mean, we're down in
Yep.
Missouri.
Espinoza, Owens.
Yep.
Are they're brothers? Yeah.
Yep, they're brothers. So we've been kind of reaching out a little bit more, and I think it's good to kind of bring some of that to our area, our region, and just getting a different look. Obviously, our hotbeds are Minnesota, South Dakota, and Iowa. I mean, those are our hotbeds, but we're trying to expand that a little bit. And I think each and every year, it's when I say gets a little easier. It's more of like easier in the sense of our name, right? Our name keeps growing. Is the recruiting process any easier? Hell no, it's not. Right? You're still up against, the big, the Power Fives. So, but I think we're doing a good job of targeting kids that have the character that we're looking for, and the work ethic that we want within our program. So that's why I think you're seeing some of these kids, and we're excited about all of them, and we might have a couple more coming on through, just trying to wrap some things up. But as far as this year, if you look at our 10 weights, we have one senior in there, and that's AJ Nevels at heavyweight. So we have
senior, right? Because of the COVID year.
Yep, a senior.
Yeah.
So you look at it that way, and I mean that's kind of exciting. I'd love to keep AJ around forever, but it's kind of exciting because you're getting all these kids that experience, and you have a team with some veterans on there. So at 25. TJ was Tanner Jordon was our 25-pounder last year, and TJ is slated there right now. We brought in a transfer, Brandon Meredith, out of Penn State. He's coming back from injury, so we talked about the injuries and stuff like that. So he's coming back from injury. At 33, we have a handful. You got Gabe Tag back. who was a freaking hair away from making the national tournament. And you got Derek Cardinal, out of Minnesota, who, who's a stud, and he's been chomping at the bit. At 41, we have our All-American, Clay Carlson. He's doing great. Training's going well. He got married over the summer, and yeah, man. I mean, he's ready to go. He's excited. He's excited because I think he comes in at maybe like 5th, 6th ranked, preseason ranked, and I think confidence has never been a thing for Clay, or he never lets that on to believe that confidence is a thing. Like that dude, let me tell you. You got all these cliche sayings, the hay's in the barn, money's in the bank. Like this dude, he literally he banks off this stuff. Like he knows the work that was put in to get him to this point. So when he is in the fire, I mean, he pulls from that, and he says, listen, I've been here before. I've done it. I've done what's needed to be done. So I think he's looking at this and the guys that are ranked ahead of him. He never wrestled Cole Matthews, who's the number 1 kid, but the number 2 kid he beat. The number 3 kid, I believe, might be Berglund, who he's beaten every time. And the number 4 kid, I think, is Aliras, and he's beaten him 2 or 3 times out of the handful of times they've wrestled. So he's looked at this like, heck, I'm going to win a national title. I mean, that's my goal, and so that's awesome. At 49. You had Dan Kimball there. Last year Dan Kimball's out. He had shoulder surgery. He'll be out till second semester. But I mean, hey, Alec Martin, man. Alec Martin was the top recruit in the country.
Yep.
And we redshirted him last year. He's ready to go. I mean, he's right where he needs to be, and I'm excited for him to go out there and perform. To be honest with you, because this class that are now redshirt freshmen, that was a big class for us. I think it was ranked 10th in the country at one point, and we got a lot of good kids that are going to be kind of jumping in, throughout the year. At 157, another kid out of that class, the Alec Martin class, is Cale Swenson. Cale Swenson was a top recruit out of the state of Minnesota, and he's going to be, at 157. And another kid that I'm excited for our Jackrabbit faithful and nation to go watch, because these young kids, man, like they're full of piss and vinegar. They really are, and they want to go out there and scrap. They do, and that's exciting. So, at 165, we got high flying crazy man, back Tanner Cook. Technically, Cook's got 2 years left this year.
He's a junior, yeah.
Yep. And so I mean, he's a fan favorite. He's ranked somewhere in the rankings. At 174, Cade DeVos. He's got 3 years. He's got this year. Yeah. So DeVos has got this year and 2 more, and Cade DeVos, he's special. I mean, he's got abilities that other people don't have. And, what was he? He was around 12 last year. Southern Scuffle champ, and beat a lot of good guys. I see him continuing to progress and keep making adjustments to get on that podium. I mean, I really do believe that, because he's good, man. He really is, and I think he's not satisfied. He's not content with a decent year last year. That's not what he came to school for. It's not why he came here to South Dakota State. He came here to be a national champion. So he's doing great. His drive and everything is ready to go. At 184, we have Cade King, who was at 84 last year. He's there again. I think he's ranked as high as like 18th, 19th, 20th in the country. He will right now, as it looks, I mean, he's the first. We also have, Roman Ragazzi, out of Minnesota as well. And Roman's going to probably give me a hell of a lot more gray hair in my beard than I have already, because he's kind of like Tanner Cook. I mean, he wants to go out there and just pin dudes. I mean, he's fun to watch, and he loves to scrap. I mean, he'll wrestle at anything, everything. I mean, it doesn't matter. So, he's gonna go, and he's gonna make some noise. I mean, he's gonna push some guys. So I'm excited for him. At 197, you got, one of our anchors, Tanner Sloan, man. I mean, he's got this year and one more. He comes in. I mean, I don't know who ranks these darn polls, but whoever put him
12th,
at
I guess.
15, one put him at 15, or I think they've been drinking. But
And he's fully healthy now, right?
yeah, he's healthy. I mean,
Good.
everything
That's
is
good.
well, not knock on wood. Everything's good. But yeah, you got Tanner Sloan back, and then AJ Neville's up at heavyweight. And so I think on paper, I've said this, before, but on paper, this is at this point right now the best team South Dakota State's ever put on the mat. But now go out, right? Gotta go out, wrestle, and compete, and prove, where they are. But just on paper, I mean, this team's solid. It truly is, and I'm excited because you go through 4 years, and every year we've had something, right? First year was whatever. We only had 14 guys on the team when I got here.
Yeah.
Second year, we're making some strides, and they canceled the damn NCAA tournament. Third year, we have half a season, and then last year, you still got COVID trickling around. I mean, we had duels canceled on us left and right. We're flying halfway across the country at the 11th hour. So every year it's been something. I would like to just have a normal freaking season, please, and just let it go and see how things kind of happen. So, yeah, no, it's good. It's good. We have a solid group of guys. I think this has the makeup to be a great team, and to do some special things. I really believe that, and we're excited. We're really excited for this season, and bringing some of these Power Fives, here to Brookings and showing them what it's all about. Because, I mean, our guys, I mean, they're gonna scrap. They're fun to watch, and they have very high expectations for themselves. And I tell our recruits, I tell our fans, I tell our kids on our team, our parents. It's like, listen, I didn't come here to South Dakota State to be mediocre, to be middle of the pack. That's not why I came here. I came here because I believe South Dakota State can be a perennial powerhouse. And you look at what we're doing on the world stage, you look at what we're doing on facilities, you look at what we're doing on recruiting, and anything worthwhile takes time, and we're building something special.
So I had heard a rumor that, we're 20. That's not the rumor, I guess. The 22nd in the country is not a rumor, but we got all these great home duels. And I heard a rumor that if somebody goes out and proves that they buy season tickets tonight after this podcast, that you'll give them a free high five and a picture. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give them 2 high fives and multiple pictures.
So speaking of the schedule, I'm just going to run through what we have for home duels so people understand the quality that we have. First, we start with Augie. That's Friday, next Friday. And then the DAC on Sunday. And then the Sunday after Thanksgiving, we bring in Minnesota, your alma mater. Always a perennial, excellent team. Got some great guys on that. December 18th, we bring in Nebraska. And then we have a home duel on January 20th to start out the Big 12 season with Utah Valley. We got Wyoming the 22nd, Oklahoma State the 10th. The 12th is Oklahoma. And man, that's a stretch. I mean, you got Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and then you go up to Fargo.
Yep.
I'm just looking through this whole schedule, and like you were saying, it's a grind. So we do Bison, Augie, DAC, Mini, Cliff Keene, Nebraska, Iowa, Northern Illinois, and Cal Baptist. Is Cal Baptist new to the Big 12?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're an affiliate.
Yeah, and so they're out in Riverside. You got the Virginia Duels on the 20th. Again, Wyoming, Air Force again, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and NDSU, the Big 12s, and then the NCAAs. So, like you said, when we were talking about freestyles, that's a grind, man. That's a tough schedule.
Yeah, I mean, it's very different than freestyle. It's every darn weekend, and so the schedule is good. It's really good. We're bringing in
great opponents.
Schools. We're bringing in big schools here to Frost, and I think the one thing that we're gonna see this year more so than previous years, is so the NCAA changed the rule. They put this rule in place for football. I don't know how many years ago, but now for wrestling, it's been 5 years.
No, it's the 5 match rule, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I was going to talk about it later, but go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
I just
So it's unique now to wrestling because now we can use, our red shirts in up to 5 competitions throughout the year, and they can represent us without burning a red shirt. Now, the reason why it got put in place, I mean, you talk about the health and welfare or health and well-being of kids these days, and all the things that they have on their plate, coming from high school to college, and the academics and the athletics and all this kind of stuff. Well, most people don't know, but wrestling has the most first generation college kids in the country. And I was kind of blown away by that when I heard the statistic, but they do. And so when our kids come in, there is no transition period. We get here in August, we start training, preseason training as soon as they get here. So they don't get really that time to kind of get their feet wet and with the academics and their class schedules and all. So we get right into it because season officially starts November 1st. That's when you can have your first, competition. We don't, but that's when you can start. I think the season is long enough. It doesn't need to be any longer. I would even opt to go. I've been pushing, for a 1 semester sport or a 1 semester season, start in January and go through May, or and push it to 1 semester. So these kids, these freshmen in particular, can come in and really focus academically, because being, the highest first generation, I mean, they also do struggle at times because, I mean, look at myself. My parents didn't go to college, and I went to college, and let me tell you, it was a eye opener because when I was in high school was a breeze. I mean, I was a good athlete, and that's kind of what mattered. And, my parents, everything was focused on the athletic side of things. Academics was not a priority. And so when I got to college, and I remember, going to class, and they don't take attendance here. I don't need to be here. You know what I mean? Like seriously, like I had no study skills. I mean, I struggled. My first semester in college, I really struggled. And it took that for me as an eye opener. Like, Damion, get your crap together, man. Like, you don't go to college just to wrestle. You go to college to get an education, dude. And so that really was an eye opener for me. And you see that today, these kids, I mean, they leave mom and dad and they get on a college campus, and they're like, some kids, it's just like, woo, oh my God, like this is awesome. And so getting them focused on the right things, putting right study habits and time management in place, it doesn't just happen. You got to work at it. So the reason why they put the five competition rule in place was because to alleviate some stress off these kids, because not only do they have the most first generation, but you have what's called your APR, and APR, the 9 times out of 10 the lowest sports are like football and basketball. So we want to boost the APR, and that's academics, that's retention, that's graduation and all that. So how do we do that? Let's push off the season a month. Let's give these kids a month or two to really get their feet dug in to what is happening on campus, to the academic rigors and all that. So they're not bombarded day one with the training and the academics and all the other things that go into the college lifestyle. So I would push for that in an absolute heartbeat. But I'm hoping that, what we're going to see this year as far as a season, a schedule, or competition wise, we have the ability now to rest some of our guys. I mean, we had guys competing every damn weekend, and they're getting beat up. And so now we have the ability, like this weekend in particular, we have the Bison, the next weekend, Augustana, and the DAC. Well, the Bison and the DAC, they're kind of the same. I mean, most of the same teams come. So it's like, do I really need to send, our bangers out there and because they don't need the matches. So we need to make sure that they can go come March and still be ready and healthy and ready to go. Last year, I mean, we had so many matches. I mean, our guys were starting to get run down by the end of the year. So I think we will do a better job with just kind of picking and choosing some of those competitions. And on top of that, this gives us the ability to throw some of our red shirts out there and hey, give our fans a little bit of a treat and see what they look like, against competition. So I think we're going to see a lot of that this year, not only with South Dakota State, but across the country. I mean, you have a rule, why not use it? To the best of your ability. And I like it. I really do. I think it's going to add some excitement. I mean, from a number of different weight classes. You could see someone that hey, you've wanted to watch wrestle, but man, I got to wait a year. Well, you know what? He might be running out that damn tunnel one night. You better get your season tickets and get your butt in those stands because you don't want to miss it. So there is all that kind of capability. So it's going to be good. It really is. I think it adds a new dynamic to what we're trying to do.
Yeah, when I read that rule, looking over the new rule changes, and there's one more at least, I think. That was my first thought is how that would help fill out a lineup in the middle of the year, end of the year, because that's really tough. And it's a long season, like we're saying. One other thing before we get too far, I've yet to fail to pay the bills, and I know the guy running this thing's gonna get mad at me if I don't. So I'd like to thank our title sponsors. You've seen them scrolling across the bottom here. Drake's Place out in Bottle, South Dakota. You get yourself some great food if you're out there pheasant hunting or deer hunting this year. And then also we have a new sponsor on board. It's Dakota Iron Equipment, and they've sold a bunch of the equipment that's been used to make all the projects on campus. So we're grateful to have them on board too.
Awesome.
So thanks to those guys. So going back to the rule changes, since we're going down that road, there's a new rule with I want to call it the GPA prove it on the day of competition rule. So how does that change things for us? Does it at all?
Wait,
You gotta have a 2.0. There's a new rule I read where you got to have at least a 2.0 on the day that you wrestle, on the day that you compete.
So there's always been a GPA, right? So the NCAA, the standard is like a semester or cumulative GPA of a 2.0. So I'm trying to think of what.
It was really worded funny,
Yeah.
and yeah, so maybe what I was reading was inaccurate. But
well, I'll tell you right now, if we're flirting around a 2.0, fire me because that is not going to happen.
Don't ask me my cumulative through college.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you mine either. But no, I mean academics for us, we push hard. We really do because I think it's important. I mean, your student athletes are going to. I mean, they have their own interests and everything like that, but they're going to care about what we care about a lot of the time. And when we consistently and constantly stress the academic component, it matters. I mean, this is like this last spring semester was, and to my knowledge, if anybody wants to fact check me and go for it, but to my knowledge, it was the highest wrestling GPA in the better part of a couple decades. We were just shy of a total GPA of a 3.5. We had 3.4, like 9 or something like that. I mean, that is absolutely awesome.
That's good.
I mean,
yeah.
That shows you some, you can be successful in both the classroom and on the wrestling mat. And then you throw in a guy like Clay Carlson, who he was the second time Big 12 Scholar Athlete of the Year. I mean, come on. I mean, like that's awesome. I mean, hey, being an All-American is great, but being a scholar athlete, of your conference, I mean, that is awesome. It shows you the work, the hard work, the dedication that he puts into all his aspects of his life. So, yeah, that's. But as far as the The one component that I know, I don't know if it got passed or they're trying to pass it or it is in, is the RPI one. With it has to go off of GPAs and retention and graduation. They do have that, and what the NCAA is trying to do is kind of promote more of the student athlete side of things, and really start to kind of give back, I guess you can say, to the universities who have a certain not RPI, APR, that have a certain APR. If they're above a certain number, then universities will get money from the NCAA, which is awesome, because some of the sports, some of the more high profile football, basketball, you see guys come in for 1 year and then they're piecing out and going to the major leagues or the pros or whatever it is, or they're just transferring. That hurts your APR, and so we're trying to do a better job as universities across the country to be able to keep and retain our kids, and promote that being of a student athlete, to help the betterment of your school. So that's one of the things that is coming down the piper. I think it might have got put in place for this year. I'm not 100%.
So I gotta say shout out to Study Table Simez. Seems like anytime you're ever there, he's like, for sporting events or anything, he's always in that study table room helping them kids.
Yeah, him and Coach Berge. Let me tell you, man, they got a handle on. We have a system for our kids, and when it comes to our freshmen and anybody, our standard, we want to have everybody above a 3.0. And if you're not above a 3.0, you're in study hall. And we have a system in place, and we have our checks and balances, and let me tell you, like, every one of our freshmen start out in study hall, and they got to earn their way out of study hall. So it gives them a little bit of incentive. But they come in, they check in with our coaches. We go over their weekly schedule. We go over what assignments. We make sure that the emails to their professors need to be where they need to be. You have some kids that come in that come from a very, I don't want to say structured life, but a life or a family that really values the academic side, and they harp on that, they stress on it, and so these kids come in prepared. And then you have other kids that just, let me look at myself. I was not prepared, when I went off to college, and so if the system that we have in place right now was there for me, oh my goodness, I would have did great. I wouldn't have struggled as much as I did, my first couple of years in college trying to find my way, I guess you could say. So we have a system in place, and those two, man, they lead the charge, and they do a phenomenal job with our guys and their academics and their time management. So it definitely has helped our program a lot.
So I know the wrestling team has always prided itself on the fundraising aspect and how well you guys
all
do.
We here, baby. There's no team. There's no I in team.
how you guys do on that? How'd one day for state go this year? I'm curious how you guys fared compared to the other athletic teams.
We do okay. I guess you can say. So
you could toot your own horn in this, man.
Well, it's a team effort. It really is.
Yeah.
And I think I have been fortunate, I guess you can say, in some of my prior roles. I really owe a lot to Rob Cole, my former boss at Cornell. I owe a lot to working for him, and really just him mentoring me on how to build a program, because it's not building. You're not just building a wrestling team. You're trying to build something that's sustainable. You're trying to build something that will corny, but stand the test of time, I guess you could say. And if you're so focused on just building a wrestling team, all the other things around you, all high tides raise all ships, right? So you need to have that kind of mindset and focus if you want to build something great. And so for me, coming from Cornell and coming here, went through some of that and understands the capabilities of when you get people together and you excite people. And so we did well. My first year here, it was the second year of me, one day for state. And I think the athletic department had roughly 330 gifts. It was only the second year. And my goal was, Damion, who cares about the dollar amount? that doesn't matter. You need to get the donors. You need to get as many donors to give as you possibly can. And our first year, out of those 330 some odd donors, wrestling had 174 of them. And we didn't raise the most money, but we had the most donors. And so
that's really important, though, isn't it? I think it is.
100%, because
it's some buy-in, and
yep, you got to have buy-in, and there's a cultivation kind of process, right? Fundraising is like gardening. You plant a seed and you can't just harvest it right away. Like you need to cultivate this, and if you do a good enough job, you're going to get crops off it, or get your paybacks every year, with continued work. So for us, it was, we need to get our donors, we need to get our base together, and then grow our base. So the over the course of the next couple of years, we continue to up our donor base. And our dollars. I think our first year here, we raised, I think it was like maybe $7,000 on that 24-hour giving day. And then, you fast forward 4 years, 4 years. You fast forward 4 years. We had over 1,200 donors, and, we were just shy of 60 grand, and that is, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of phone calls, a lot of, I don't take no for an answer on the phone. And I'm not hanging up.
I'm getting phone calls every year. I can attest to it.
And, I'm not hanging up this phone until you make a gift. And so, but the nice thing is, and I think some of the other sports have kind of adopted it a little bit. And they need to, they really do. Every one of our student athletes makes a gift. Every one of them, and they make a gift of their graduation year. So if they're graduating in 2025, they're going to give $20.25. And you start that process, that philanthropic process with them, and you cultivate it over years. So, you talk about the guys that come in as a freshman, and they are taught, I guess, to, pick up that phone, make those phone calls, and they're not just asking for the money, they're putting their own money into this as well. So in 5 years, when they graduate, or 10 years down the line, when they receive that phone call, they remember when they had to make that first call, and how nervous they were, and how shy. But here's the thing, our donors, our supporters, they want to hear from our kids. Like, they don't want to just see it on social media and say, oh yeah, it's giving day, I might as well just go on and type my number in and send off some money. Like, I mean, some people do that, and that's fine. They don't want the phone call. But a lot of our people, they get the phone call, and they're on the phone, and they're talking, and they may have never spoken to this kid before, but they get them on the phone, and they're like, wow, that kid was awesome. I want to go watch him wrestle now, because you're building relationships. And so I think what we've been able to do, I've had a lot of people ask, and it's like, oh, what do you do? It's like, I work, I pick up the phone, I make calls. You know what I mean? I literally, I try to build relationships. I mean, that's what, I know the saying, hey, money makes the world go around. But so does relationships, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's more important, because over the course of 4 years, I have gotten to know some amazing people, not only just tied to this university and state, but just wrestling fans in general, because of some initiatives or some things that we're trying to accomplish on, you take one day for state, I mean, it kind of, it forces you to pick up a phone. It forces you to have conversation. It forces you to talk about your program. And so I think it's huge. And I vividly recall when I was at Cornell, my first year there, and Rob Cole, he dropped off a stack of papers on my desk, and it was all the high school clubs and programs in the the southern tier of New York. And I'm like, what do you want me to do with this? Like, I was a wrestling coach, man. I'm fresh out. I'm a wrestling coach. That's what I do. And he's like, I want you to call all these coaches. I'm like, yeah, for what? And he's like, get them to come to club practice on Sunday. And I'm like, really? You want me to call these people and beg them to come to club practice? Like, okay, sure. And I remember picking up the phone, and there were other people in the office, and I made my first call, and I was like stuttering on the phone. And I was just like, hi, this is Damion Hahn. And like, I was so nervous, and I actually got up and I left the room and I went to a separate room and I made my phone calls in there because I was like embarrassed. Like, I couldn't even talk on the phone. And
You're
so,
short for words.
right. It's crazy. So, but it's things like that you remember, and you build those relationships with people that you never know. You never know what can come down the pipe from, whether it is a financial thing or a letter of recommendation or just someone who needs a conversation. Like, I mean, like, it's I'll be honest. I think that's the thing I enjoy most about being in the position that I'm in is I have the ability to pick up a phone or stop and talk and really talk about something I'm passionate about. I mean, that's freaking awesome. And I think people, when they get to know someone, we're talking about me, when they get to know me a little bit, I'm pretty transparent. I try to be genuine about what we have going on, because I am a firm believer in the process and all the things that we have going on within our program, and I think it's special, and I want people to know how special it is. This isn't a stroke of luck here. I mean, if we're going to do something, I mean, we got to put the time and effort into it and work at it. So that's one day for state. It truly is. And our kids, our kids look at it now as it's a challenge. It really is. And they're like, okay, how many we get last year? Okay, we got to crush that. And what's our dollar amount? We got to do this. And I want everybody to know that every single penny that is raised goes back to these kids, and it goes to enhance their overall experience here at South Dakota State. And it doesn't go into my pocket or the administration's pocket. I mean, this goes directly back to the kids, so we can do some of the things that we want to do. I mean, like a couple of years ago, we went down to South Beach duels, and we have a budget, and some of the budget stuff doesn't cover it. So you know what? I took them and we spent I don't know, 3 or 4 more days, and we trained down there. We went to the beach and we showed them a part of the country that some of them had never been to, and stuff like that. So it is crucial for what we're trying to do. I do feel bad at times because fundraising never stops. It's not like, hey, we raised all the money we ever need this year, and thanks, guys. We're not going to call you tomorrow. But no, it doesn't. It continues, and it'll be something as we continue to build, as we continue to hit milestones over the the next years and so on. It takes resources. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It takes resources, and our donors and supporters of our program, they continually step up. They do, and we are very thankful.
So, some other fundraisers and things that you guys do that are fun as a team is you guys do the Cubby Luncheons. I've seen they start next week. You guys do the JWC raffle and silent auction. Are you guys going to do that again this year?
Heck yeah. It's back online this year for the first time in, I don't know, 2-3 years.
Yeah.
So, because we did it the first year, it was great. I think we might have did it the second year. Then the season got canceled.
Yep.
We didn't do it last year.
Did do
And
track the jack.
yeah, we did the track to jack, but we didn't do the raffle last year. But yeah, we're doing it this year. That'll be in. Don't quote me on it. I think it's in January. I'm getting ready to send out a newsletter probably tonight with some information, and I think that'll be in it. But yeah, we got the raffle. We have some of these other things that are going on. We have the cubbies, the luncheons, and one of the things that I wanted to kind of do, and I don't know how this would go over. You talked about cubbies or luncheon. I had the opportunity. So Frank, right? So Frank Kurtenbach, who is amazing in every aspect. He calls me up one day, and no, I met with him for breakfast or whatever it was, and he's like, Damion, he's like, what are you doing tomorrow night? I go, well, I got practice, and then I'm gonna head home. He's like, all right, I'm picking you up. And I go, okay, what are we doing, Frank? He goes, we're going to the Difference Makers Club, for the football, thing. And I'm like, okay, I've heard about it. Like, let's go. He's like, they got pizza and drinks, and we're gonna go. And I go, okay. Wait, Frank gets what Frank wants, right? So, so he picks me up, and we head on up there, and it was awesome. It really was.
It is a cool thing.
It's cool. And now, don't get me wrong. I mean, like, they have a little bit more staff on a football team than we do, so they can do some things that maybe we can't at this point. But I mean, they have videos up, and he's showing plays, and Stig's talking about it. He's got a player that stood up and all that kind of stuff. And I thought it was really unique. And the people there were engaged, and they had a good crowd. So I would like, with this new facility, to maybe do something like that, right? Because over lunch, it's like, okay, I got to squeeze it in. I only got an hour. You know what I mean? Where if you did an evening thing, almost like what they did for that, I think we might be even to gain more people to come and watch. We can do it in the facility, potentially. If you didn't do it at like a Cubbies, and you have the ability to, use the lounge and the video system, and kind of do some of that and kind of recap, with some video, because like you said, I'm pretty long-winded, man. And literally I get up at our luncheon, and they turn me on, and then I take one breath, and that was an hour, and it's over. So yeah, I think I would like to provide an experience, maybe, or a different experience for our people, because it's wrestling is, in my mind, the greatest sport in the world, man. And we could talk about it all darn day long. And I would like to kind of keep adding, right? Keep adding things. And, because, and I don't know if people say this or feel this way, but it's like, okay, we're going back to Cubbies to listen to Damion talk, like, maybe if we added a new dynamic to it, I mean, I don't know, what yet, but maybe it is, we do like the Difference Makers, and they come to the facility, maybe we do that bi-weekly, and we still do our Cubbies one, bi-weekly or something like that. I think it could be a nice little addition for our fans and our supporters. And I try to be pretty candid with people at these, at our luncheons, because I mean, it's the same people that come back, every week, and they don't want to just hear me freaking sprinkle powdered sugar everywhere and say everything's, sunshine and roses. When it is, and when it's not, I mean, I talk about it. I mean, I'm not going to hide it. I mean, it is what it is. So I think that's a unique part to what we do that maybe some other programs don't do, or other sports. I don't mind talking about issues, and sometimes I get off on a tangent, but I try to steer it back in.
Yeah, that Difference Makers Club's a real cool thing, and
yeah,
they send it out to video, a great portion of it to other people that can't make it in person.
Yep,
so
for sure,
it's a way to bring in a few revenue dollars and give a little bit more of an inside look to the program.
It's
absolutely
pretty cool. Yeah, no, I liked it. I thought it was good.
So if I got my math correct, you can give 9.9 scholarships, right? Is that correct?
Yep.
And there's something to do with 20% of a full scholarship, right? So you can only come up with what, about 49 and a half 20% scholarships, and you've got right now 36 wrestlers in the room. Is that
something
so,
like that?
So that's an interesting dynamic in my mind, because that's
Mhm.
certainly different than what you'd see in basketball or football.
Mhm. Yep. And so this is the unique thing here. The NCAA allows you 9.9. So you can use your 9.9 however the heck you want. You want to give out 9 full rides and 90% scholarship. There you go. There's your 9.9. And you literally only have 10 guys on your team. You look at, and we have 10 weight classes. So we don't even have a full ride for each weight. You got basketball. I don't even know what they get. What do they get? 13?
Something like that, yeah.
And you got
15
5
or 13,
yeah,
something like that.
whatever it is. And you got 5 guys on the court. So, and they're a head count sport. So they give out full rides or nothing. Same thing with, like, women's basketball or a volleyball. SCSU football is an equivalency sport. Most places it's a head count sport where they give out full rides. So football is a little bit like us. But for us, I mean, I don't know how they came up with that number of 9.9, but they made it even harder now, because we could get kids at times, let's be honest, South Dakota State is pretty affordable, as far as an institution. And, depending if you're from the region, I mean, you pay reciprocity and state tuition and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty affordable. And so we, and sometimes, we could get a kid for, hey, listen, you come in first year, we'll get you on 10%. And then, we can increase it, as time goes. Well, that same kid now, that if we could have got in, at 10% or whatever, now we have to start at 20%. We can't start any lower than 20. So it kind of puts us at a little bit of a disadvantage. And the reason why they did this is for that APR.
Sure.
That's why
Progress rate, yeah.
Yep. Because they figured, well, if you have to invest more money, then maybe they won't leave, and go somewhere else. And listen, kids are going to do what kids want to do, regardless of the money. I mean, come on, let's look at the world we live in right now. It's out of control. So the 20% is, I don't particularly like it. And it's gonna stronghold some programs. I mean, listen, we're fortunate. We're 9.9. There are I don't know how many programs that are out there. What are they? 78, 79 Division I programs. I would say half of them are probably close, but not fully funded. And you just made it harder for them. And is that what we're trying to do? Are we trying to hurt those universities or the student? Because here's the deal: if I'm sitting at a program and I have 4 scholarships, and now you're telling me I got to start at 20%, and at 4 scholarships I'm not even competitive, throughout the country. Now I got to start at 20%, and I'm an administration, and I'm sitting here like, man, we're struggling just giving out whatever we can, and we only have 4 scholarships now. Under 20%, man, we're just pissing money down the drain. Why do we have this? Let's invest that money somewhere else. And that's not what we want. So I don't, and I get it, right? I mean, the health and well-being of our student athletes, or our students in general, our kids, is the utmost. I mean, it is top priority. But we as people, I feel like sometimes lose sight of the things that matter, right? Listen, I don't know what's going to happen with my kids someday, whether they're going to grow up and be a doctor or an athlete or whatever it is. But I can tell you one thing, my kids are going to have, they're going to have freaking integrity and respect. Like those are things that, I mean, it doesn't take money to get. And, you know, you teach those things. And I think you have to start at a young age, and where you losing some of that. And it's always like, hey, what can you do for me? How much more can you do for me? And it's like, listen, like, what about, you know, putting your time in, right? Putting your time in. I mean, like I didn't go from college to a head coach. I spent, you know, 13 years working my way up through the ranks to get to, you know, where I am now. And it wasn't easy. I mean, like there were times where it was a struggle, you know, financially and stuff like that. But I mean, I worked for it. And so like, I think it's awesome, you know, it's a positive and negative. I do think it's awesome that we're helping these kids and everything like that. But at what point? At what point is it suffice, right? And are we going to go to a point where we bankrupt ourselves? You know, at some level, and so for us, we have 36 guys on our roster. I have 9.9 scholarships.
That's some hard math. That's
Yeah.
that's what I see when I read that. I'm like, how does a guy do that? Like, you know,
and you know what it is, and I'm be honest with you. We try our absolute best. Some programs run it different. Some programs, I have a buddy who's a Division I college coach in wrestling, and he goes, Damion, I'm all in or nothing. He goes, I'm going all in on this kid, and if he takes it, awesome. If he doesn't, I'm on to the next guy. And I'm like, man, that's tough, and because you're going to lose a lot of guys because one, let's say you're not a Power 5, right? You're not a Power 5, and they want to go to a Power 5, or they want to go to a program that, you know, has some history there, and so on and so on. But on the flip side, it's actually easy because now I only have to invest so much time into a small group of kids. Where what we do is we try to spread our money. We try to take care of what we can take care of. And I want to, I want to reward our kids, right? I want to reward our kids on the efforts and, you know, the academics and the wrestling. You know, obviously you have certain kids that are coming out of high school that probably are worth more than others. But then you have to look at what you need, right? I mean, it's supply and demand. I mean, if I don't have a 57 pounder and I need one, well, I'm probably gonna have to go throw a lot of money out there to get one if I need it at that time. So there's a little bit of supply and demand in there. So, but the way we do it, does it create a lot more workload for us? It does, because when you spread your money out, and not everybody, you know, on a full ride or 3/4 of a full ride or whatever it is, how do you make up the difference? You make up the difference by time. You make up the difference by time and effort, and really investing your time into your kids, and you create you create this family, right? I mean, not everybody gets what they want, or you know, gets what they deserve, or whatever you want to call it. But if you take the time and you invest into the kids, time is money, and there's a cost association with that. So, you know, when my guys and my coaching staff is literally spending every waking moment with our guys, whether it be academics, whether it be athletics, you know, working on something, you know, I mean, like, that's an investment that we're making. And ultimately, we're looking at the long game here. We're looking at the future, because, you know, these kids, what they do now, I mean, it transcends, and they're ultimately going to come back and give back to our program. So it's one hand washes the other. It's not just like, oh, here's your paycheck, you know, at the end of the work week, and, you know, if you do what you want. Like, no, like, this is a family environment, and we try to do our absolute best of taking care of our people. And I think one of those ways to take care of them is investing time. And some people might say, hey, well, that's your job. Well, yeah, I guess you can say that. That is my job. But is it my job to literally, I mean, whatever your work week is, or your work day is, to wake up in the morning, go run a practice, get some paperwork done, go run another practice, go home? Like, I mean, I walked through the door at 6:30 tonight, and I was on the phone with a parent. And we leave tomorrow to head up to Fargo, and I'll be gone for the weekend. And I mean, my day sometimes starts at 7 a.m. and I don't get home till 8 o'clock at night. I mean, that's my choice. That's my choice, and I choose to spend it with my guys. I spend it with my team so they know how important they are to what we're trying to build. And I don't know. I'm rambling now, but you got me off on a tangent.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It blew my mind a little bit that we don't even have a full roster's worth of scholarships in
Yeah.
the NCAA.
No,
I
we
think
don't.
that's got to probably change. And speaking of time, we're approaching an hour and a half, and we definitely have
Really?
to respect your time.
Ah,
Yeah,
it seems
it's
like
a
it's
buck
been like
25 right now.
oh wow. I thought it was like
Could you
33
maybe
minutes.
just touch on quick on the can you talk about signees? They've signed, right? So you should be able to talk about them or not.
Yeah. I think
Or
I think
if
I can. So we got
I don't want to get you in trouble with camp. So
so we got 5. And I think Jordan, you said they're all at least 2-time state champs, right?
Yep.
Yeah. We got 5 kids that are coming in, and I'm really excited about this class because they sprawl throughout the country a little bit. We reached into some states that we haven't had kids before, and I think the nice thing is the kids that we are bringing in, they 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 fit within what we're trying to build, right? They fit within our culture. They come from good backgrounds, some good families. And when I say good families, I'm good people, right? They have instilled in them the things that we're trying to instill into our guys here. And you talk about the respect, the integrity, the work ethic, like those things get lost in today. And so that's this group of kids that I believe that we're bringing in, and I'm super excited about it. We got Missouri, we have Utah, we got out of Tennessee, and one more,
Minnesota.
Minnesota, yeah, Minnesota, and so those are our group of kids, and I'm excited. I really am. We had some target areas that we needed to focus on, right? Because the last couple of years we've kind of went like up and down with the number of kids, because my first year here, only having 14, I mean, we recruited our tails off, and we brought in like 15 kids, and so all of a sudden, what I would love to do is bring in 7 to 8 kids a year, no more than that, because then you will have your rollover, and you'll always have that many. Where we're going to come into a year where if I graduate 10, it's like, oh damn, man, you're going to have to gung ho and recruit all that that many kids again. So we got 5 right now, and it's a good group. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I am. I think this group of kids is going to be awesome.
So if I've got it right, we've got Thomas Deneen, Colin
Dupill, yep.
The Espinoza Owens, that'd be
Yep.
Marcus and Moses, and then the Brady Rourke would be the guy from down in Missouri, Seneca, I think.
Yep, down in Missouri. He's a little stud, man. We have, like I said, so we had some targets. We needed some middle. We needed to look at, an upper weight, because you never know up there. And then I truly believe you always got to recruit a light guy.
Yeah,
because
hard to find.
They grow all the time. I mean, heck, literally here I use Dan Kimball. Dan Kimball wrestled 125 pounds his senior year in high school. And we knew he wasn't going to be a 25 pounder, but we were hoping at least for 1 year. Well, he wrestled 49 last year. He weighs 170 some odd pounds right now. And so he ain't a 25 pounder, so I feel like you always got to look at 25 to bring in someone, and hopefully you can give him enough, Diet Coke and stunt their growth and keep them at yeah. So, but yeah, no, that's kind of the class, and we might have one, maybe one or two more that we're kind of poking a little bit, and we'll go from there.
So when I was getting ready to do this, I was thinking back now that you've been here for 5 years. Wow, these 5 years have flown by. But I just kind of want to make it a testament. I think everybody's learned in the 5 years how great of a coach you are and how good and everything you are with
Yep.
everything. But as I'm looking at the roster, I mean, you have your overturn and stuff like that, but you start looking at the coaches. And like we all know the story about Cody being here 1 year before you came and you being honest with him when you got here. You've kept him for the 5 years. You've kept Cam for the 5 years. You've kept yourself here for 5 years, obviously. Um, you had Nate Roeder. He left to go be a high school head coach. You got Chris Dardanes. He left to go be a high school coach. You got Marty went to DWU to be the head coach there now for that program. You've kept the same manager for all 5 years. I mean, she even stayed and went to grad school
I
to
know, right?
stay with you. Like, just kind of, what does that mean to you to keep the core group so close and only have people leave to really truly better themselves in coaching positions?
Um, I, listening to you say all those names, I didn't know that it was kind of that many. But I think, I think it's awesome. It goes back to what I said before. It goes back to relationships and how you treat people. If you treat people right, they'll do right by you. And I truly believe that. Not to get too sentimental or anything, but this is what I was taught at a very young age. My dad, he was he was a man of tough love. All right, and he ruled with an iron fist. And let me tell you, he instilled some things into me, and I think about it every day. How when you give somebody your word, I mean, you make good on those things, right? You treat people right, you treat people with respect. And I look at, I lost my father when I was 25 years old. I was a young man, and I just married, and I probably needed him more than ever at that point in time. And so when I look at my kids' lives and I see my two little boys, and my dad was a coach, my dad was a mentor. He did all these things. I mean, I had more people at my house than I had family members that weren't my family, all the time. And so I look at what I do, and I put it in this way. Look, I'm not going to be around here forever. I pray that I will see my kids grow old someday. But if I'm not, I hope I do enough good that it turns onto my kids, right? I hope I treat enough people the right way that if I'm not here, someone will take care of my kids and treat them right. So, and some people, I say this, and it's not just coaches. I think a lot of people in life, there are two types, and I relate it to coaching, but there are two types of coaches in this world. I only believe there are two types and no other. You have coaches that win at the expense of their athletes, and you have coaches that win with their athletes. And I think that can go to every aspect, right? You have people that will win at the expense of others. They don't give a damn. And then you have people that win together. Like I said, all high tides raise all ships. So I think that's important, and that's what we try. That's what we try to do. And I think if you treat people right, if they feel they have value, and I think I don't just make my staff and the people that surround our program feel they have value. They do have value. I mean, they really, really do. And I appreciate it. I appreciate them kind of being by my side, and because it takes a village, there's no doubt about it. And I would not be able to do the things I do if it wasn't for the support system that we have here within our program, South Dakota State, this community. I think it's awesome, and you learn that over time. It just doesn't happen, but it's always got to be talked about. It's always got to be, you got to bring it back up, because it's a learning process, and you're always learning. So when you think you got to figure it out, man, that's when you're screwed, and people are going to start leaving you, start passing you by. And I don't want that. I don't want that. I think treat people right, and hopefully you'll get that in return. And I think that's what not only just me, but what we do, here at South Dakota State. And like you said, you do have turnover, right? I mean, that's kind of it's almost inevitable because if Cody and Cam and Brady want to be head coaches someday, and we're still here, we're all together, man, they might have to leave, right? And I guess that's a good thing too, because if they become head coaches, I guess I'm doing my job, right? I'm doing my job. I've been able to help them and mentor and have them go on. It's the same thing Rob Cole did for me. I mean, he has his coaching tree at the NCAA level is one of the best. I don't know how many 7-8 people that are head coaches in Division I that have all worked under him. That is a testament to what he's been able to do in his mentorship. So I don't want him to leave. I'm going to do everything I can to keep everybody here and never let them leave. I have to chain them to the floor, but yeah, we'll see, man. I hope that day never. I hope the day, doesn't happen, and if it does, it's not for a long time.
Well, we certainly appreciate what you've given us here tonight, and I think with that, we're at 95 minutes, so we should probably. We should probably let you go to get back to your family because I know they're important to you too. So how about get jacked on 3? You ready? 1, 2, 3. Get jacked.